I'm going to speak to you today with quotes from the prophet, which was written by Khalil Gibran. He was Lebanese American. He was born in 1883 and died in 1931 at the age of 49. The Prophet, which I think is his best book, was published in 1923. However, he has had published about 14 or 15 books. He's Lebanese American, and I discovered the book when I was in my late teens, I guess, and it really spoke to me. In fact, I called it my Bible for many, many years. I found it before I found the UU Church, so it's very dear to me and goes way back. So thank you for this opportunity to speak. Al-Mustafa, the chosen and the beloved, who was a dawn unto his own day, had waited 12 years in the city of Orphalese for the ship that was to return and bear him back to the isle of his birth. He climbed the hill without the city walls and looked seaward, and he beheld his ship coming in the mist. He closed his eyes and prayed in the silences of his soul. How shall I go in peace and without sorrow? Nay, not without a wound in the spirit shall I leave this city. That'd probably stay now. I have trouble reading, visual disability, so thank you, Jesse. He climbed the hill without the city walls and looked seaward, and he beheld his ship coming in the mist. He closed his eyes and prayed in the silences of his soul. How shall I go in peace and without sorrow? Nay, not without a wound in the spirit shall I leave this city. Yet I cannot tarry longer. The sea that calls all things unto her calls me, and I must embark. Ready I am to go, and my eagerness with sails full set awaits the wind. And as he walked, he saw from afar men and women leaving their fields and their vineyards and hastening towards the city gates. And when he entered the city, all the people came to meet him, and they were crying out to him with one voice. And the elders said, by the way, my trusty stud here is going to assist me. My trusty steed, husband, is going to assist me by asking questions as they came from the people of Orphalese.
Go not yet away from us. No stranger are you among us, nor a guest, but our son and our dearly beloved. And the priest and the priestesses said unto him, you have walked among us a spirit, and your shadow has been a light upon our faces. Much have we loved you. And ever has it been that love knows not its own death until the hour of separation. Al-Mustafa, a seeress, hailed him, saying, yet this we ask ere you leave us, that you speak to us and give us your truth, and we will give it unto our children. You have listened to the weeping and the laughter of our sleep. Now therefore disclose us to ourselves, and tell us all that has been shown you of that which is between birth and death. Speak to us of love.
And with a great voice he said, when love beckons to you, follow him, though his ways are hard and steep. And when his wings enfold you, yield to him, though the sword hidden among his pinions may wound you. For even as love crowns you, so shall he crucify you. Even as he is for your growth, so is he for your pruning. Like sheaves of corn, he gathers you into himself. He threshes you to make you naked. He sifts you to free you from your husk. He grinds you to whiteness. He kneads you until you are pliant, But if in your fear you would seek only love's peace and love's pleasure, then it is better for you that you cover your nakedness and pass out of love's threshing floor into the seasonless world where you shall laugh, but not all of your laughter, and weep, but not all of your tears. Love possesses, nor would it be possessed, for love is sufficient unto love. Love has no other desire than to fulfill itself, to know the pain of too much tenderness, and to bleed willingly and joyfully, to wake up at dawn with a winged heart and give thanks for another day of loving, and then to sleep with a prayer for the beloved in your heart and a song of praise upon your lips.
And what of marriage?
You were born together, and together you shall be forevermore. But let there be spaces in your togetherness, and let the winds of the heavens dance between you. Love one another, but make not a bond of love. Sing and dance together and be joyous. But let each of you be alone, even as the strings of a lute are alone, though they quiver with the same music. Give your hearts, but not into each other's keeping. Stand together, yet not too near together, for the pillars of the temple stand apart, and the oak tree and the cypress grow not in each other's shadow.
Speak to us of children.
Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot enter. Not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you. You are the bows from which your children are living arrows are sent forth. Let your bending in the archer's bow be for gladness, for even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable.
Speak to us of giving.
You give but little when you give of your possessions. It is when you give of yourself that you truly give. For what are your possessions but things you keep and guard for fear you may need them tomorrow? And what is fear of need but need itself? There are those who give little of the much which they have, and they give it for recognition, and their hidden desire makes their gifts unwholesome. All you have shall someday be given. Therefore, give now, that the season of giving may be yours and not your inheritors.
Speak to us of eating and drinking.
Would that you could live on the fragrance of the earth, and like an air plant be sustained by the light. But since you must kill to eat, and rob the newly born of the mother's milk to quench your thirst, let it then be an act of worship, and let your board stand an altar on which the pure and the innocent of forest and plain are sanctified.
Speak to us of work.
You work that you may keep pace with the earth and the soul of the earth, for to be idle is to become a stranger into the seasons. When you work, you are a flute, through whose heart the whispering of the hours turns to music. Which of you would be a reed, dumb and silent, when all else sings together in unison? And what is it to work with love? It is to weave the cloth with threads drawn from your heart, even as if your beloved were to wear that cloth. It is to build a home with affection, even as if your beloved were to dwell in that house. Work is love made visible.
Speak to us of joy and sorrow.
Your joy is your sorrow unmasked, and how else can it be? The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. Some of you say, joy is greater than sorrow, and others say, nay, sorrow is the greater. But I say unto you, they are inseparable. Verily you are suspended like scales between your sorrow and your joy.
Speak to us of clothes.
Your clothes conceal much of your beauty, yet they hide not the unbeautiful. And though you seek in garments the freedom of privacy, you may find in them a harness and a chain. Would that you could meet the sun and the wind with more of your skin and less of your raiment. For the breath of life is in the sunlight, and the hand of life is in the wind.
Speak to us of crime and punishment.
It is when your spirit goes wandering upon the wind that you, alone and unguarded, commit a wrong unto others, and therefore unto yourself. And for that wrong committed must you knock and wait a while unheeded at the gate of the blessed. Oftentimes have I heard you speak of one who commits a wrong as though he were not one of you, but a stranger unto you, an intruder upon your world. The wicked and the weak cannot fall lower than the lowest which is in you also. So the wrongdoer cannot do wrong without the hidden will of you all. Like a procession, you walk together towards your God self.
Speak of talking.
You talk when you cease to be at peace with your thoughts, and when you can no longer dwell in the solitude of your heart. You live in your lips, and sound is a diversion and a pastime. For thought is a bird of space that in a cage of words may indeed unfold the wings but cannot fly. And there are those who have the truth within them, but they tell it not in words. In the bosom of such as these, the Spirit dwells in rhythmic silence.
Speak to us of religion.
Is not religion all deeds and all reflection? Who can separate his faith from his actions, or his belief from his occupations? Your daily life is your temple and your religion, and you would know God, be not therefore a solver of riddles. Rather look about you, and you shall see him playing with your children, and look into space, you shall see him. You shall see him smiling in flowers, then rising and waving his hands in trees.
We would ask now of death.
You would know the secret of death, but how shall you find it unless you seek it in the heart of life? The owl, whose night-bound eyes are blind unto the day, cannot unveil the mystery of light. If you would indeed behold the spirit of death, open your heart wide unto the body of life. For life and earth are one, even as the river and the sea are one. For what is it to die but to stand naked in the wind and to melt into the sun? And what is it to cease breathing but to free the breath from its restless tides, that it may rise and expand and seek God unencumbered? And as the prophet is leaving Orphalese, he turns and says to the people, "Fare you well, people of Orphalese. The day has ended. It is closing upon us, even as the water lily upon its own tomorrow. Forget not that I shall come back to you. A little while, and my longing shall gather dust and foam for another body. A little while, a moment, of rest upon the wind, and another woman shall bear me. Farewell to you and the youth I have spent with you. This completes my quote, but I would like to encourage you, if you have not, I know probably most of you have read the prophet at some time, but if you have not, I'd like you to find it and do so, because he speaks on so many other things. I didn't want to make the service too long today, but he speaks on other things such as buying and selling, laws, freedom, reason and passion, pain, self-knowledge, teaching, friendship, talking, spoke of talking, and a couple of others. He also speaks of good and evil, on prayer, on pleasure, on beauty. And I think that's about it. He's written probably about 15 books he's had published. This is certainly my favorite. So I want to thank you for allowing me to speak today, and my assistants here, thank you so much.